Thank you so much, Imam Magid and Rabbi Lustig. I'm going to move into a little bit of a controversial topic, only because these things need to be talked about, and sometimes we tend to shy away from them, and people have questions. Unfortunately, cultures are always, pushing this hatred. Unfortunately, that is supposed to be expected between a guy's wife and his mother or her mother-in-law. That doesn't, the husband doesn't know how to make sure that neither his mother or his wife's rights are violated. What advice can you give to men in this situation? Because I believe, from my perspective, that it's his job to make sure that no one is violated, and he needs to be the one to kind of bring on that dialogue and have a sit down and make sure that both his wife and his mother are respected and taken care of. But I want to hear what you guys have to say. We'll start with you, Imam Magid.
Okay. There's something called in-laws, outlaws. There's a war sometimes take place between, children and the in-laws' parents. And unfortunately, it led to many problems in many marriages. And the more serious note, I do believe that all relationships are based on expectations, including the relationship with God. If people know what to expect of their children when they get married, and the expect of the in-laws when they made that proposal, then issue would be resolved or become easier for them to navigate challenges later in marriage. The problem is this: in some culture, they believe if a son gets married, he is bringing a maid to the house. And just to be frank, he's bringing a maid to the house. In a migrant community, especially. And that is not supposed to be the case. She's not supposed to even serve her mother-in-law more than her mother-in-law's own children. It is important that when they enter the relationship, to have clarity in what this dynamic look like. And I know that because I counsel people in my community, and I counsel people, foreign people coming from overseas, seeking my advice. Therefore, the right thing is to strike a balance between the rights of your parents and the rights of your spouse. But the parents have to also stay on their own lane. This social gravity, like orbit. Husband and wife have their own orbit. Their family, extended family, has their orbit. If you allow this social gravity to be dismissed, then you have collapse. But you have to have a support system, but who is distant. Right now, we're talking about social distance, COVID-19. You have to have enough distant, but a connection, so that you don't have that collision or a clash.
But do you agree that sometimes the guy has to kind of take the reign and establish that? Because
but that's what I'm saying. The expectation from the beginning, that would happen. In a Muslim community, the guy would say to his wife, "She's my mother. If she abuses you, you shall just swallow." That is not acceptable, because you putting your mother in bad relationship with God. Therefore, you have to protect your mother and to advise her not to commit injustice for her own sake. You have to step in. That's why I'm saying this is based on expectations. The guy has to stand up and to make sure his wife not being abused by his own family.
So as I'm understanding Imam Magid's advice, he's telling the son should live in a faraway state from his mother.
Not necessarily. Just I'm saying that he has to have balance.
I think that there is that Judaism gives us an understanding in the sense is that when one gets married, it says one becomes of one flesh. So I think that having this discussion, and I don't believe it is upon necessarily the husband alone, because I think the dynamics in the matrix, that I think everybody has responsibility in this, and that it's not gender specific in any form or fashion. It is family specific, and the idea of shalom bayit, peace in the home. And so if a mother understands that inflicting pain upon a wife is inflicting pain upon her own child, then if she's going to fulfill her responsibilities as a mother, she would not do that. Just in the same way that if it's of one flesh, if a son does not stand up for an injustice towards their own wife, then he's allowing somebody to cause pain to him, and to his wife in an equal form, and he's not doing justice in that form or fashion. So these are easy to talk about in axioms and in principles, but I think one of the things that's most important is at Washington Hebrew, all of our people that get married, they participate in 5 premarital counselings. There's opportunities. We sit down and have a meeting with both sets of parents beforehand as well in order to talk about expectations. I do a whole program with mine students, my couples and their parents about anticipatory behavior in terms of certain times the way that we anticipate certain sorts of things. So I think it's very important, and communication has got to be a key. And it's important because we need our families. We need, what a blessing it is to have extended family around, and to alienate those. But this, Hernessa, you bring this up, and it's really important. I don't remember the exact statistic, but almost every family in America has one alienated family member. And those alienations often come for our inability to be able to bridge the gaps, and it has to do with our behaviors that either isolate or drive people away. That's not good for the family. That's not good for the individual. It's certainly not good for society in general. So we need to counsel those things. We need to work those things out. And if anything, I hope that this extended time together begins to give everybody better skills in appreciating everybody's role. It's I've been amazed that how many people have deferred, and we've talked about how they're dividing up roles and responsibilities on the homeschooling, because I think that it's really important, and it's a poor message if it's left to only one parent and not to both parents. What a message to the child. Does that mean to the child that one person cares about my education and another doesn't? One is capable and one is not. So we have to, everything that we do sends a message to our children, everything that we do. And
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think both of your comments really hit it on the nail. And I hope that that's the conversation that we keep on having with our community members.